Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the AGU Atmospheric Science section, Early Career Committee's second webinar of our webinar series. And so this is our first webinar focused on professional development. My name is Alyssa Stansfield. I'm a member of the Early Career Committee. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. I see there's still attendees coming in, so I don't want to start before most of the people get here. So I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds before the panelists introduce themselves. Okay, it seems like it's slowing down. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming. So today our webinar is on experiences working as a research scientist at US National Labs. And so today we have 5 awesome panelists who each work at different various national labs in the United States, and they will be answering various questions about what it is like to work there and their experiences. So first, we're just going to have each of the panelists introduce themselves. So I'm just going to go in the order that you guys are on my screen. So Heather, why don't you start?
So my name is Heather Simon, and I work at the EPA. I am actually in one of the policy offices for AIR, the Office of Air Quality Planning and Standards, and I do photochemical air quality modeling. So I do a lot of technical analysis that feeds into national regulations for various types of air pollution regulations.
Great, thank you. Meng?
Hi, my name is Meng Li. I'm a research scientist at the Regional Chemical Modeling Group from NOAA Chemical Science Laboratory. And I'm working in Collaborative Institute for Research in Environmental Science program, which is called CIRIS program. My major research interests are in air quality and WRF-Chem modeling and top-down evaluations using satellite observations.
Great, thank you. Olivia?
So hi everyone, my name is Olivia Clifton and I'm a NASA program postdoctoral fellow at Goddard Institute for Space Studies, or GISS. And I just moved here, I started 2 months ago, and before that I was an advanced study program postdoctoral fellow at the National Center for Atmospheric Research, or NCAR. And so mostly I'll talk about my experiences at NCAR today. It's not a national or government lab, but it's space funded by the National Science Foundation, and so it's somewhat between a university and a government lab, perhaps. And my research interests include land-atmosphere interactions, especially those relevant for atmospheric chemistry.
Great, thank you. Allison?
Hi, I'm Allison Aiken. I'm a research scientist at Los Alamos National Laboratory. I'm in the Earth and Environmental Sciences Division, and I've been at Los Alamos for over 10 years now. I've worked at a large variety of different projects over that time. I'm an analytical chemist by training, and I work in the field, field experiments of aerosol science, as well as in the laboratory. Largely focused on aerosol physicochemical properties and what they can tell us about our sources, atmospheric processing, and their impacts with the natural and human-controlled environments. So,
great. Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, great. Jonathan, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Jonathan Zhang, and it's actually the first time ever I use webinar tools. So for some reason, I'm not downloading webinar software, so I cannot open my camera. Hopefully you can hear me. And I'm at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Caltech, for about 20 years already. And currently I'm the supervisor for the aerosol cloud group. And under this group, we have a 30+ scientists, engineers, and associates, and also postdoc fellows. And Besides my normal job, I also serve as AGU Editor-in-Chief for the Earth and Space Science Open Archive, and I'm also the chair for the AMS Committee on Atmospheric Chemistry. And okay, very nice to meet you guys here. I realize I'm the only male on the panel. Right.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you everyone, for being here, all our panelists and all our audience for being here. So audience, you can submit questions if you want through the question feature of GoToWebinar. But we have a couple of questions we're just going to start off the discussion with. So our first question is, how did you get your current position and what is the promotion potential for your position? I guess we can just start, we can go in the order that we introduced ourselves in, if that's okay.
Hi, so my undergraduate degree was in Earth Systems, and it was, it was a science degree. And after undergraduate, I spent a couple years at a state agency doing air pollution permit work, which was kind of a nice introduction to air pollution, but ultimately wasn't going to hold my interest long term. So I went back to school and got a PhD in environmental engineering at University of Texas, and from there became a postdoc at EPA. And after a couple years as a postdoc, I was able to transition to the policy office as a permanent scientist at EPA. And I think all federal positions are pretty nice because there's kind of a career ladder within the federal government. So at least at EPA, most positions are posted so that they have like a promotion potential. So you might be hired on at one GS pay scale, but then you have kind of an automatic pay raise built in as long as you're performing satisfactorily up to a certain level. And then if you want some of the higher level pay statuses, you have to apply competitively for those, or if you want to go into management. So.
Should I start? Okay. I got my PhD degree in Tsinghua University, and I was working on emission inventory development. And then I went to Max Planck Institute for Chemistry in Germany as a postdoc. And there I did some research on multi-phase chemistry, but then I realized that I want to change my research topic a little bit. So I looked for some group in US that can working on the WebCam modeling and some top-down evaluations. And I found that the research topics of my current group fit my research interest very well. So I sent them my CV as an introduction. And fortunately, they were also looking for some person to work on the evaluation work. So we had a follow-up for interview, and it went smoothly. And then I was fortunate to get the offer. And I think it was a really good, correct decision for me to move to Boulder. And then about the promotion potential, I just got promoted from Research Scientist 1 to Research Scientist 2 this month. Yeah, I joined the, thank you. I joined the group 2 years ago. So I should say that for earlier career scientists, the promotion potential of the NOAA's chemical science laboratory is really good, because your contribution to the scientific community as well as service will be fully acknowledged during the promotion. So from IS1 to IS2, I should say that it's not very difficult.
So both positions at NCAR and at NASA GIS I got through postdoctoral fellowships offered by the institutions. And so it just involved thinking of potential research projects that I wanted to do. But with NCAR or NASA tools, getting in touch with potential mentors, and writing up the proposals. And so I'll say that there isn't any promotion potential as a postdoc. They're temporary positions, but I think doing a postdoc at the institution that you want to work at is a good way of getting your foot in the door and learning about potential positions.
I think Allison's muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Yes, apologies. Yes, so I came to Los Alamos as a postdoc, and then I wrote actually my own proposal for the same kind of a thing, a LANL funded internal postdoctoral fellowship, and so that funded me for a few years, and then after that I was converted to staff, and the potential for promotion is good here. I'd say, you know, I'm a research scientist 3. We have levels from 1 up to 6, I believe, and then we also have a similar track for managers as well that you can go into too.
Okay, I think it's my turn. Right, and yes, and I used to study astrophysics and for my undergraduate and graduate degree, and I got my master's degree in astrophysics 1991, and I supposed to continue with the PhD in astrophysics, but 1991 is the year of the launch of the Hubble Space Telescope, and you know, after launch, and there's a glitch, and the image is not very clear, so because of that, the funding was delayed. So I'm looking for some other opportunities, but at the same time, you know, and I'm in Canada at that time, in Toronto, and the group I'm working with and had a huge fundings to develop MAN. It is called Middle Atmosphere models. It's a GCM at that time, and I'm very good at Fortran programming, so I work for a professor, you know, for the GCM group. And when a time comes by, you know, I think, okay, better take 2 more courses to get some credit. So I get PhD in atmospheric science. Then I moved to Montreal, be a postdoc. And, you know, be a postdoc, you can be on and off. And in 1998, the opportunity came. And at that time, the NASA EOS programs got funded. Okay, the first set of satellites, Terra satellite in the orbit. So the next after Terra is Orca satellite. The third in the line is Aura. So they hire a lot of people. And 1998 is also the year the US under Clinton have a lot of surplus. Okay, don't have deficit. So it's a very good time. So because of that, I apply a position. I come to JPL, and again start as a postdoc 1999. And I actually have 2 choices. One is to work on atmospheric science, like gravity wave studies. Another is you work on the retrievals, okay, and after cloud or the simulations to be observed by the satellite. Then I choose the second one. And so after a year, and I know they're going to hire me because before the Aura satellite launch, I already work on to simulate, and it's called satellite simulator or 4 models, and for the cloud observing and also retrievals. So the satellite was supposed to launch 2002, and then I was hired as a JPL employees, and there was a delay. Actually, launched 2004, so that's why I got hired. Okay, and actually, when you work on this job, you got a feeling they are going to hire you because you work on something essential and to the mission. Now the promotion potential is, and at JPL there's 6 levels of scientists, you know, and so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You just climb on ladders, and I'm currently level 5, and yeah, level 5 is called the principal scientist, and so there's still one more level to go as a level 6. Now, on the same thing as managers, you know, and so I'm the group supervisor right now, and so the next level will be the section manager, then it's division manager. So there's a lots of opportunities, potential opportunities for the position. Thank you.
Very cool. Yeah, so it seems like there's definitely a lot of different opportunities at the various national labs.
Right.
So next question is, what is your day-to-day work experience like? And if you could mention a little bit, how is it different from your time in graduate school?
So I'd say, you know, one thing I like about EPA is that there's a lot of variability. And for my job, I'd say things kind of go in cycles because there are times when we're really working hard on a regulation and trying to get a lot of technical analysis done for a regulation on a short time frame. And so we might be doing a lot of really policy-focused technical analysis geared towards understanding the impacts of a potential regulation or assessing the benefits of it. And then there'll be a phase where there's just a lot of briefings. So we're doing management briefings, writing up what we've done. And so it's a very kind of communication focused phase. And then there's often downtime between regulations, and that's kind of when I do more, I'm able to do more publication type kind of policy relevant research and work on, you know, things that I've seen in the technical analysis that we did for regulation that are interesting and I think would make kind of an interesting analysis for research publication. And what was the second? What was the second part of the question? Oh, how is it different from grad school? Yeah, I mean, I think being at a regulatory agency, it's pretty different because a lot of our work is really geared towards things that are policy relevant as opposed to kind of more abstract or less kind of directly applied research. So as a grad student, I was doing still photochemical modeling, but looking at heterogeneous chemistry and trying to understand how it was impacting ozone and using some field study data. And the technical analysis that I do now is a lot more applied and really looking at the impacts of different regulations.
Okay, in the NOAA Chemical Science Laboratory, so there are aircraft campaigns conducting every year. So one of my responsibilities is to support the campaign by conducting simulation and evaluation. So and also we also do support for the atmospheric composition forecast modeling. So apart from that, I usually do my own research on the model evaluation using satellite observations. So my day-to-day work is really simple, just working on my own research. And I don't need to attend my own funding, like writing proposal, because my funding is from the series program. For now, the program funding is enough, it's adequate, so we don't need to write our own proposal unless I want to like to gain some experience during the writing proposal process. So, and apart from work, I can spend a lot of time with my family. And so my work-life balance is really good in NOAA. And especially at Boulder, we have a lot of views and trails and skiing. So the life is really good with my family here. And it's really different from the graduate time and graduate school time because you can focus on your own research and you don't need to worry about the scores and the exams anymore. So you'll be more clear about what you want to do to advance your career.
So what does my day-to-day work look like? It's a lot of research. I mean, I don't have many responsibilities as a postdoctoral fellow. My responsibilities are mostly just publishing papers and getting a more permanent position. And so in that respect, it's kind of similar to the end of grad school, at least my graduate school experience, where the last 2 years I didn't have any exams anymore except for the defense. And so I was just applying for postdocs and finishing research. I had no teaching responsibilities, but very different from the beginning of graduate school. And yeah, because I spend a lot of time on research, there's also, at least at NCAR, there was a lot of opportunity for engaging with the internal and external scientific communities. There were all these workshops being offered, all these visitors coming in, and then there were also professional development series like this one, but internal to NCAR. And so day to day, I would, once a week, I would kind of try to participate in something outside of my research from day to day, just to make things a little different. But yeah, I have a lot of freedom in what I do from day to day. And I think for work-life balance purposes, these postdoctoral fellowships are kind of what you make it. You do need to get a permanent position at the end of them, and so I think a lot of the work-life balance depends on whether you secure the position or not.
So my day-to-day work experience has varied a lot since I've been at LANL for over 10 years now. I'd say now is I'm still sometimes classified as early career, but on the brink of mid-career. I spend a lot more time actually, this is where it's really different than grad school, where I'm actually like broadening my research scope. In grad school, you spend a ton of time focusing down on one thing. And now I'm actually working on large interdisciplinary projects that are quite different, as well as looking to like expand where we work within our program development is what we call it. In addition to also still leading small teams of students and postdocs in conducting research. I'd say in terms of work-life balance, it's good. I think that it does get challenging. The more you move along in your career, like I said, there's more things you add on, and so LANL is now kind of instigating more training and mentorship programs with our new management that's come in. That's been really helpful in kind of making those transitions.
Okay, I think it's my turn. And day-to-day work experience, and it's also changing with time. For now, and my everyday's work is time management. Because when I start every day, there's at least 5 or 6 tasks is waiting for me, and always due dates, so I need to prioritize. And I can talk a lot on that, but the key point is you need to prioritize, and because they all important, all have due dates. Okay, how's different from my time in graduate school? Actually, it's a lot different. In graduate school, you do whatever you're told to do. Okay, and of course, on research, on the thesis, you can have your own ideas, but general direction is given. But to work at the national lab, and I'm not sure other national lab in NASA, you have a lots of freedom in terms of research. Okay, and for example, I used to work on the satellite retrievals, satellite simulator, but once the satellite is launched, it observed cloud, observed moistures, what to do with it. You decide. It's nobody tells you what to do with this product. Okay, so you need to write proposals. NASA as a whole, I think it's bottom up. Nobody at NASA headquarters to tell exactly what to do. And even the big flagship meetings, they go to Mars, go to Europa, we scientists propose. Small task, we propose. Then we send proposals in. The NASA headquarters manager, their job is, okay, I have this possible research. Their job is to ask money from the Congress. Okay, you define your research. This is very good. So I still enjoy to work at the national lab because you can do anything you want, and in terms of research. So to follow your interest. And this is the thing. Okay, what's your okay? Yes, I need to write my own findings. And let me see what else. Okay, what are your responsibilities? And so in terms of research, I'm just responsible to myself, of course responsible to my postdocs. I want to make sure they have good career and in the future, and also writing good papers. And now I become a manager for a group, so I have a lot of responsibility for my group, and promotions, salary increase, hiring, and so on. And so quite often they have some problems. I don't have magic bullet to solve all the problems. So probably my magic is to listen, and so whenever there's a problem, I don't know how to solve it, but I listen to them and listen to them and listen to them again. I ask them, what do you think you can solve this problem? They have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I just help them to pick one. Okay, in this way, problem solved. Sometimes, the listening is my responsibilities. Okay, so how's the work-life balance? Okay, and if I be honest, this is very hard. It's harder than the work. And when you just married your daughter, and I have one daughter only, and before I marry, I want to have 5 daughters, five kids. Now, but I have 1 daughter. When the kids are small, lots of time. Although I have a little money at that time, I need to find a job here and there. But I remember it's huge fun. But your daughter graduated from the college, often work, then you're left to think what to do. Okay, so I still need to think about how to improve the work-life balance. I cannot work all the time, right? So this is a challenge. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was really great insight. Okay, so the next question is, does anything about your job change with US federal administration changes?
So for me, because I'm working in the policy office, certainly the nature of the policies or the kind of direction of the policies are dictated by the current administration. So that definitely changes from administration to administration in terms of what types of regulations we're pursuing. But I'd say that kind of the technical work that I do doesn't really change. My ability to kind of publish and do kind of more of the technical work doesn't seem to change much, but certainly the types of policies that I'm working on do change a lot from administration to administration.
For me, even as a foreign nationals, and I didn't feel anything change regarding to my work with the federal administration changes. Even my life, my paperwork and my research work, I didn't feel anything change. Thanks.
Same for me, I don't have any changes.
So at Los Alamos, we're not official government employees. We're technically government contractors. And I've seen over the time that gives us a little bit extra buffer space on when things do happen within administrations. Yeah, there's generally just a little bit more freedom, but we are still affected by things that happen at the national level for sure. I'd say specifically, since most of our funding comes directly from the U.S. Department of Energy, whatever policies and Congress-related focus areas become, funded and of interest, those are more areas that you have freedom to write proposals to work on. So we are definitely affected, but it's not quite directly as much as some of the government employees that I've seen. I think the other point I wanted to mention was this is why, in terms of joining a national lab, one of the pieces of advice I was given was to make sure that you agree with the lab's mission statements.
Okay, and for me, there's federal government change had a minimal impact, and almost feels nothing, because in the U.S., is democracy, right? And the president cannot determine everything. Okay, so does the House, so does the Senate. Okay. And in terms of NASA budget, in the worst time is flat. Okay, you got in the order of 20 billion a year. It's flat. Sometimes you got this increase, that initiative. For example, go back to the moon, things like that. But actually, sometimes if you have less money to study climate change, okay, I'm studying extreme weather. Okay, if there's less money to study weather, okay, I go to study planets. Okay, so you always get something to do. Always get something to do. And so most job change is not at the higher level, and the federal government is on the local, very local. I mean, and for example, JPL director changed. Well, and so some internal policy change, you need to prioritize, some different parts of work. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you so much for those answers. Our next question is, what is your favorite part of your job, and what is your least favorite part of your job?
So I'm gonna, I think, have two favorite parts of my job. One is that there's a lot of collaboration at EPA. There's a lot of teamwork, and there's a lot of really smart people with very different expertise. So it's really nice that we can work on big collaborative projects. And if I have a question on meteorology, I can go ask the meteorologist in, the office next door. And if I have a statistics question, I can, call up my coworker who's a statistician. I work with economists, public health folks, engineers, chemists. So it's really nice to have access to that really broad range of expertise, and people are really collaborative, not competitive at all. And so it's really nice to work with such a great, smart, diverse group of professionals. The other thing I really like is being able to see the direct applications of my work. And so when I do technical analysis for a regulation, I actually know that the analysis that I've done has directly impacted, air pollution policy in the US. And so that's really cool. One of the downsides of having so much teamwork, so one of the things that can be kind of a drag is there's a lot of meetings. And so there are some weeks when my calendar just fills up with meetings, and I guess I didn't mention that in my day-to-day, but and so that's where some of the time management that Jonathan was talking about comes in. That's pretty different from grad school, or even when I was a postdoc, where I had, all week to just work on my technical analysis, my research, or writing up my research. And in my current position, I have to work around the fact that I might have, a couple days in a week where I'm just in various meetings all day, or I might, have, so a lot of teams with a lot of meetings.
Yeah, and for me, I really have similar feelings like Heather, and our lab is really big, and My favorite part of my job is that I can communicate with Maryland people very conveniently. We are in the 3rd floor and they are in the 2nd floor. So if I have questions about the Maryland data, I just go downstairs and talk with them. And it's really convenient, and the atmosphere in the group is really collaborative. So we collaborate on various projects and a lot of good outcomes and publications. So another, my favorite part of my job is that I got fully support on various aspects. My research and is fully supported by my advisor and my colleagues, and we have very good communication. And I also got very good support from IT department and administration department. So on my paperwork and everything. So I feel that I can focus on my research because I have them support. And it's really difficult to see the least favorite part because I do like my current job. And maybe there are paperwork every year because I need to do sign a lot of paperwork. But actually, they are mostly they are mostly the burden for administration department. So I really didn't do a lot of things on that. So that's it.
So my favorite part about my job is that I have a lot of freedom in terms of the research directions that I can pursue. If I find something interesting that's not exactly what I proposed to do in the initial postdoctoral fellowship applications, I have a lot of freedom to change direction. And this is typically the case on postdoctoral fellowships, although it kind of varies from fellowship to fellowship. And then the least favorite part of my position is that sometimes it can be really lonely because the research projects are ones that I've designed and I'm working on maybe with the input of others, but not fully collaborative with others. I work by myself a lot.
I'd say my favorite part is working with the other staff and students to solve complex research problems. As I mentioned, I've kind of been broadening my research and interests, so it's great to learn about all sorts of different areas of science and how your expertise can assist within that area. I think my least favorite part is yes, also when I have to make choices between too many meetings and trying to finish up a paper. I'm still working on honing those efficiency skills there. It's kind of gotten a little difficult during this last year, as I'm sure it has for everybody.
Okay, I think it's my turn. And the favorite part, I think, to work at the national lab is just yeah, it's the time you can really follow your heart, and you do the things you like, and you can write your own proposals, and I used to enjoy the writing proposals. Oh, really? I can, to have my own ideas to do research, and then later on, my postdocs writing proposals, things like that. But essentially, you can define to follow your interest, either for to do your own idea, your own proposals, or work as a team, to help others. And there's and also, I like my job to be the managers, because the role of the manager is not to teach people what to do. The role of the manager is helping others. So I like to help others. If I see my team member, and get paper published, get proposal funded, get promotion, and you're very happy about that. So, and there's to work at the national lab, in my view, is very enjoyable, and careers, and you want to consider. Okay.
Great, thank you everyone for your perspective. So next, I think we're actually going to take a good question from the audience. So we don't have, so no one has to answer this question. You don't have to go in the order, and anyone who wants to answer can. If you don't want to, that's fine. So I'm kind of trying to combine two questions. So the question is about, everyone who applies to government jobs or PhDs there, they have PhDs and they're all very qualified. So can you say, like, what are some other factors that might make a candidate stand out from other applicants? I know this might be a tough one, but maybe more applicable to, Allison or Jonathan.
Okay, you're asking me, right? Okay.
And well, anyone could go, but
yes. And if nobody said, okay, it's easier from the resume. Okay. So for example, we are currently hiring a scientist, and I'm in the hiring review committee. There's I think it's about close to 30 applicants. Just by look at the resume. The resume is based on the experiences you have, your interest, and whether or not you fit the field. Then you down select 3. Okay, and the 3, and it depends on the interviews. Okay, I'm going to call all the 3 and interviews. On the interview, you'll see who is best matched to your job. Okay, are you hiring people who have leadership? Are you hiring people to have the programming skills? So it's not that hard. And as long as you have an objective, clear job descriptions, it's not that hard.
I'd also say I don't know how it works at all the other labs, but for any job that you're applying for through USA Jobs, there's kind of 2 phases to the selection process. And the first phase is an initial screening that's done by an HR professional.
Right.
And those HR professionals are not going to be experts in kind of the scientific discipline that you are applying to. So it's important when you write up your resume to get through that initial HR screening to make sure that you're using the same type of language that is on the job announcement, because if you have someone who's screening applications and they don't know that PM 2.5 and aerosols are kind of interchangeable, and they say they want an expert in PM 2.5, and you talk about your aerosol experience, you don't want to leave that type of thing up to interpretation of someone who's can't be a scientific expert in all of the different scientific fields that they're screening applications for. So that's there's kind of 2 phases, and you have to make sure that you're able to get through that initial screening that's not going to be done by someone who's a scientist. And then there's the second phase where a hiring manager will actually get your application, and then you want to, I think the interview is going to be an important part of that, and being able to show that you can communicate well and that you have skills that are relevant to the specific job.
And I'd just say to add quickly, broadly, if you're looking for a postdoc or some of the student positions, make sure to always include a cover letter. Don't just submit your resume. And if there are details specified in the call, which sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't, but try to write to those specifically. And then if you're later on in your career and you're looking to come in as a scientist, the biggest thing there is demonstrating that you have you're able to generate your own funding.
And depending on the type of postdoc you're applying for, I think kind of the stuff that Olivia talked about is really good example for folks to follow to think about what projects you want, write up a research proposal, and reach out to the scientists who you would like to work with. A lot of times, for some of the different funding mechanisms for postdocs like ORISE, you can actually send your proposal, to those scientists before you apply, so that you make sure that you're on the same, page as them, and that they know that you're applying.
Yeah, I would also say, following up on what Allison said, make sure you understand the mission of an institution or their strategic plan. Understand how you and your science will fit into that institution is really important.
Okay, one more thing, and I think your reference is very important. And for me and also for my section, we never hire anybody without reference. Okay? And sometimes the reference is more important than the interview, because if somebody who is professor, who's reputable, write reference letters to recommend you, his or her reputation is on the line. Let's say if in the future something wrong, I know who's recommended. So, and sometimes good reference letters, really make difference. I hire my postdocs, especially, if a reputable professors, I know he told me the students very good. I don't have to look at the GPAs. I don't have to look at anything. I trust the guy I hire. So the reference letter is very important.
I think it's also important to prove that you had the potential to finish the job or get the work done, because
Yes.
sometimes your skills is not very compatible to what they want. But it's also important that I have similar skills, so I can prove myself that I can get the work done because I have the potential. I can learn. I have the enthusiasm to get and to learn the skills that you need, so I can get the work done in the future. It's also important to show that. I think so.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. That was really valuable advice. I think we're going to do one more question from the audience. This may be the last question, depending how long the answers take. So again, anyone feel free to, all the panelists, feel free to chime in if you want to answer. What would you say was the most difficult decision you had to make in your career path, and how did you approach that decision? Would you do anything differently looking back? This is a tough one.
I'll just chime in quickly because that kind of struck a chord with me, I guess. Sometimes you do such a good job in a certain area that you find a new pathway open to you. But in order to do that, you have to leave behind your old research or other things that you want to continue on a different path. And that can be really, really hard to try to decide which way you want to go. And one example would be sometimes there's work that you're doing, at least at our lab, that's research work, but then at some point it becomes operational, meaning that you can train staff members and technicians and other people to do it. And so at some point you could switch from a research track to a more operational track. And the same thing with, you can take your research, and at some point, if you get into management, you can either like slowly creep in, or at some point, but you're totally in management and you're not doing science anymore. And so I think, at least for me, those are some of the hardest things to decide. and likewise for the management, they say you can always go back to science, but it depends on who you talk to find out how easily that is to go back and forth.
I'd just second that a lot of times in your career path, you're not going to kind of plot a straight course, and opportunities that you didn't think of will present themselves, and to be kind of open to that. I know that when I took my current job, I had not anticipated going onto the policy office. I had wanted to stay, my postdoc was in the Office of Research and Development and had thought that I would stay on the purely research side. But then the position opened up and it seemed like something interesting. So I decided to apply. And turns out I, kind of really like that interface between policy and science. And so it wasn't what I had planned out, but I think you just need to be open when new types of opportunities come up.
Okay, my turn. Okay, and this is a very interesting question, and it depends on what is the hard decisions. I think in my life and at National Lab, the hardest decision actually is it happens recently, and it's actually related to good advice I want to give to the graduate students or the new career people. It's related to how you succeed. I think the key to success in National Lab is you're willing to help others, because in a National Lab, like JPL, nobody can launch satellite by yourself. You work as a team, it's a teamwork. So I think I reflect back I success is not because I'm clever, I have a high GPA, or it's because I'm willing to help others. I used to help my supervisors, my managers, and my colleagues a lot. So let's say that Joe Waters, my supervisor before, if anytime he had a conference, he want to calculate something, had good ideas, I helped him to produce the figures and do the calculations, things like that. Now, after all, I become supervisors. I help my postdocs to make sure they have a good careers and they have good publications, things like that. And I actually enjoy that. I think this is builds up my success, and you're helping others. But recently, there's a very hard decision because some of the members, no matter how you help, okay, it's not a follow up, and you're expected. But I don't want to lay off and the person, so I need to find hard to find a career path for the person. The person don't want to go back to university as a postdoc, so you have to, so it's very hard decisions. So at one point, I think, okay, the either thing I just told the human resources fired or lay off, whatever. But in the end, I hold. Eventually, I find good positions, for the stuff. And so this is a very hard decision because, in life, and especially now it's COVID. Okay. The COVID, adds another layers of difficulties. Some person not performing well is because the COVID related to the kids, isolated, things like that. So at the same time, you need to keep the career going for that person. So it's hard choice is between you lay off the guy or you do your best. Okay, so in my view, and I hold my principles, the key to success is to help others. So although I need to work double time, I need to reach out a lot, and I did succeed, to help the person. Thank
you. For me, I think my hardest decision is when I finished my first round of postdoc in Germany, because I faced two choices. One is go to here in the National Lab, and the other is to find a job in university to be a faculty there. So it's really different directions. So and I'm happy that I chose this way, because I really the group here is really great, and the colleagues are great, the research are great, and also I meet my partner and I have my daughter. So yeah, that's a big change of life. And if I look back, I don't know what I chose, which way is better, because if I chose to find a job in university, then the life will be very different. And but just to try. If you feel it's not right, then change.
I think what I'll say is that moving across the country is extremely challenging. And I don't want to discourage cross-country moves, because I learned a lot about myself and I learned a lot of science in moving across the country, but know that there is some personal toll to doing that, much more at this age, or the age that I am now as a postdoc than the age that I was kind of starting grad school in my early 20s.
All right. So I think that's all we're going to have time for today, unfortunately, since we only have 4 minutes left. But I just want to give our sincere thank you to all of these panelists. You guys have given like such great answers and advice, and really, I think this is really good insight on what it's like working at all your different national labs. So thank you guys so much. To the audience, I just want to advertise that I put the early career committee's email in the chat. So if you have any feedback or want to suggest topics for future webinars, feel free to email us. We also have, there is a new atmospheric science section resources page on the atmospheric science section website, on AGU's website. So there's resources for job listings, postdoc opportunities, science communication stuff. It's a super long list that we're adding to, and some of the panelists here have also suggested resources to add to that. And then the last thing I want to say is that the Early Career Committee is trying to put on one of these webinars approximately every month. So look out for the next, it will be a diversity webinar. It should be near the end of June. So be on the lookout for an email about that, probably from the AGU Atmospheric Science section. I think that's all I have. So again, thank you to all the panelists. Thank you for all the attendees for coming, and looking forward to our future webinars.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Okay.